Oh, man. There we go. Oh, decent brownie. There we go. Nice. Got him on the hare's ear blowtorch. There we go. It's a nice gunpowder brownie. Take him all day long. Thank you there, Mr. Brown. So it's mid-January. I'm out here in Maryland. I'm on the Gunpowder River. And what I thought I would do today is, while I'm fishing, I can talk about the things that will make you better while you're not fishing. What can you do at home that can make you a better fly fisherman, or in this case, a Euro nympher? You don't always have to be on the stream. I mean, I say a lot that nothing replaces time on the stream, but there are just simply things that we can do that make us better away from the stream. And the first thing I want to talk about, and I've talked about it a lot before, is casting. So that particular brownie right there, I made about a 30-foot cast. And you can see this log here and that boulder over there, and that wasn't a lob. That was a nice cast. I was tight to my sighter right away, just like that. And the reason I can cast so well is because I just practice. And I didn't practice out on the stream. I practiced in my backyard. And that's the beauty about fly fishing. We can get out in the comfort of our backyard. There we go. We can get out in the comfort of our backyard, make all kinds of mistakes, just constantly work on our form until we perfect it. And if you practice in your backyard, you'd be surprised how quickly, thank you there, little buddy. That's the thing about the gunpowder. You're just gonna catch a lot of cookie cutters, but the beauty about a stream like this, there's so many trout in it, you can really perfect your and hone your skill out on a stream like this, because there's just so many opportunities out here. I mean, I haven't been fishing that long, and I've done fairly well so far. Anyway, so that's the beauty about fly casting. You can get out in your yard and practice. I actually, it's never been a hindrance to be a great caster. And typically, great casters are rewarded. You know, there's no such thing as a great fisherman that happens to be a below average caster. I mean, it just doesn't exist. That is the one thing that's going to take you from good to great, is casting. And the beauty about it is you can go out in the comfort of your yard and practice casting. There we go. Stout little guy. So the next thing I want to talk about, as far as what can we do to get better, is tying knots. This is something that can be very frustrating to people when you're out on the stream. So, and that's the beauty about tying knots, is when we're in the comfort of our own home, we can get really good at tying knots. Now, I just tied a 16-20. This is a knot that I use when I tie my tippet to my tippet ring. Just getting ready. So I tie that knot all the time. And that's a knot that I learned just by messing around, figuring out how I can tie it. I sitting in front of the television, and now I tie it so quick, it's just second nature. The second knot that I tie a ton while out on the stream is a triple surgeons. So, and I use the triple surgeons when I'm double nymphing. So I tie that, you can see, fairly quickly. And this is probably the knot that takes me the longest, but you can see that right there, I just tied it. Gonna clip the end here. I tied a 1620 to my Tippet ring. I tied the triple surgeons, and you can see I just tied a Davy knot, and you can see how quickly I've done all these knots. I learned to tie that knot, believe it or not, in the dark. And the reason I did that is I figured if I could tie it in the dark, I wouldn't need to put my readers on all the time. So, and if I could tie it in the dark, I could tie it pretty quick in the daylight. So you can see how quickly I tie that knot. So it doesn't matter what knot you choose to tie, just you've got to be really efficient at it. Because what I see is a lot of people get on the stream, and if they get tangled, just if their line gets tangled, they'd rather spend 15 to 20 minutes untangling instead of just cutting it and re-rigging and getting back to fishing. And the reason they don't do that is it's almost agonizing to them to go to the side of the stream and start re-rigging. So it's amazing when you're really good at knots and super efficient, how much time it saves, and you're not frustrated. And believe me, it makes you a better fisherman because, one, you're fishing more, right? But you're not frustrated. And there's nothing worse than being extremely frustrated when you're fishing, because when you're frustrated, you're not happy. And when you're not happy, you're just simply not engaged and paying attention like you should be. So pick the knots that you use on the stream the most, get really good at it, get super efficient, and you're going to spend more time being happy fishing and less time being frustrated, because when you're happy, you're just engaged in each and every drift, and when you fish that way, you're just going to catch more fish. There we go. It's a beautiful brownie right there. Gorgeous, gorgeous little guy on the hare's ear blowtorch. Thank you there, little buddy. There we go. Boy, that was a fish that I just expected to catch on that cast. I made such a nice cast there, and I was rewarded. This pretty little brownie here. Not a big guy, but really pretty. Go. This fire just stopped. Barely moved. Got him on the waltz. Put a little heavier bead on because it's a little deeper here and a little wind coming downstream. Thank you there, Mr. Brown. So let me talk about the next thing that that you can do to make yourself better away from the stream. So I was watching my sighter there, and my sighter barely moved. I mean, it just hesitated for a smidge, set the hook, and I had that little brownie on. And that is something that you certainly learn while you're on the water, but I can tell you, and I say this a lot, if you're gonna really elevate your game, you gotta move from feeling to seeing your strikes. And so many, I read a lot, I'm on a lot of blogs, and I'm in Facebook groups and things like that, and I see so many people talk about you need to feel your bugs bouncing on the bottom, or you need to feel them hit. And I can tell you, I've said it before, if you're waiting to feel the fish strike, you're just missing so many other fish. That sighter barely moved. I watched a video. It's a video, I believe it was shot back in the 90s. It's called The Underwater World of Trout. And I don't think it's in circulation anymore. I don't believe it's on YouTube. There's a few DVDs I think you can find out there on eBay or Amazon. But you watch that video and you have some aha moments. And one of the aha moments I had is how quickly fish feed. Especially when they get up in faster feeding lanes, they sit there and they wait, and as everything comes through the stream at them, they're sampling everything. And they determine in a millisecond whether or not it's food or not. And if it's not food, they spit it out. And they do all of this in a split second. So, and that's kind of the aha moment I had when I was watching this video, how quickly fish feed. And if you know that, you are going to realize if you're waiting to feel the strike, you're just missing so many more fish. So there's just so much information out there we can learn from. We can read books, George Daniel, Devin Olson, Kelly Gallup is just, he knows more about trout behavior than anybody I've ever read. You can go to Gary Borger, Dave Whitlock. I mean, these guys have forgotten more than we'll ever know about trout fishing. And what you can learn is trout behavior and how they react in climate, cloudy water, high water, low water. And if you really do your homework and read, there's just so much information, whether it's the internet, YouTube, books, DVDs, you can really get an inside look at how trout act underneath the water. And when you do that, and when you learn that off the stream, it's just simply going to make you a better fisherman. One thing I do is, and this is what you can do at home. So every time I go out fishing, after the day, when I'm driving home usually, I think about my day, and I think about, what did I do right? But more importantly, what did I do wrong? And what I mean by that is, let's say I'm at a hole and or a run or whatever it is, and it just looks really good, and I just don't do well out of it, right? For whatever reason. What I do is I'll think, well, what could I have done better? Like, should I have used more weight? Was the wind blowing? Should I have jigged a streamer? Should I have gone dry dropper? What were the conditions, right? So I just kind of pick my day apart and I try to figure out, how could I put more fish in the net, right? Was there a pattern that was established that I just didn't pay attention to? So when you're at home, you can look at last year, you can look at just the trips you took, or is there a certain section of river that you just struggle on? Are you trying to stick a square peg in a round hole? There's a section of Penns Creek last year that I fished. A buddy of mine, both of us fished it, and we only caught a couple. And we kept talking about, God, the thing looks so juicy. And we were picking it apart at the end of the day when we were driving back to the house. And I realized I should have gone through with it. I should have gone through it with a dry dropper. It was a really kind of a slow, meandering section. It was like a boulder field, big boulders, and I was trying to nymph it, and I just did a really poor job. And once we started talking about it, I realized, God, I should have dry droppered it. I mean, that would have been perfect. I would have been taking my nymphs, and I really would have been scraping the edge of those rocks. It was a slow current. And those are the things that you can learn after the fact. So I can't wait to get back there in June, because when I hit that boulder field, I know exactly how I'm going to attack it. So just do that. Just pick apart your day when you're done off the stream and try to figure out, what did you do right? And more importantly, what did you do wrong? And how can you correct it the next time you're out? So when you're facing those conditions the next time, you know exactly what to do. There we go. Your typical cookie cutter gunpowder brownie. Have a really good day with these guys. Thank you there, Mr. Brown. Had a really good day with those guys. So the next thing that I really want to talk about is, you know, what can you do to, I'm all about fishing with less frustration. And this little tool right here, it's by Smith Creek, and it's just, I'm not sure what it's called, a Tippet tender or something like that, but you know, when you're changing your rigs, or you know, you get a tangle and you have to re-rig, you got all this Tippet left over, I wrap it around this. I keep it right here. I have a water bottle holder right on my hip pack, pull it out, wrap the Tippet around it, and put it away. And you know, I've tried a lot of things. I've tried those pods from Fish Pond, and the Tippet just wants to stick to your fingers, and it's actually frustrating when you're trying to just put it away. So those are the little things that I have with me on the stream that just make my whole system just more efficient in how I work. And that's what you got to do. You got to have an efficient system that works for you, because once again, it's, if you can get rid of the frustration, you fish happier, and when you fish happier, you put more fish in the net because you're just a little bit more focused. So what can you do that just makes it more enjoyable out on the stream? So I'm a big believer in less is more. I'm a minimalist. I like to bring the least amount of stuff as possible with me on the stream. So I carry a hip pack. I've tried them all. I've tried sling packs. I've tried chest packs. I've tried vest. I mean, everybody started with a vest. I actually missed the old school vest, but for me, a hip pack works well for two reasons. One, I like it out of the way, and it's really comfortable, and you know, I can tighten it up, and it gives me support on the back, and you know, I'm not tugging on my shoulders or having a chest pack or a sling pack weigh me down, because you know, when you're out there fishing and you know, you feel that sling pack or that chest pack weighing you down, you start tugging on the shoulders and you're not really paying attention to your drifts, and it's uncomfortable. And you know, when you're comfortable, once again, you're just going to fish better. And I try to constantly dwindle down the amount of stuff I bring on the stream. So I have 2 fly boxes. I have 1 nymph box that I call my pack box. And then I have another box that I have jig streamers, stone flies, mops, bigger flies on one side, and on the other side, I have dry flies. And the dry flies that I have they're all seasonal. So I'm not bringing, you know, I don't have any hoppers with me in January because I just know I'm not going to use them. So I'm constantly, you know, changing the dry flies in that particular box, but just bring 2 boxes with me. I don't bring thousands of flies. I've got a whole bunch of extra flies in my truck. So if I run out of flies, I can always have more in the truck. So I like to work out in front of me. I like to have everything accessible right here. So I've got my working box right here. I put in the flies that I know I'm going to be using that day, and the only time I go into my pack is if I run out of particular flies right here. I got the drying patch right there. I carry my Tippet. I have my nippers and hemostats, and that's pretty much it. And I can work out of this all day long. If I have to go on my pack, you know, it's actually very rare that I go into my pack. Only if I, say, run out of Tippet or if I need an extra fly or two. So you want to take a look at what you're carrying out on the stream and just try to dwindle down. You don't need thousands of flies. You know, I've got all the extra flies in my truck. I just simply try to work. I have enough flies that are going to last me a day on the stream. I'm a big 6 and 7X guy, so in my pack I have one extra spool of 6 and one extra spool of 7. And then I have 5X out here and, you know, maybe some 5.5 and 4X, but I don't carry all this extra Tippet. So during the day, if I run out of one spool here and I go into my pack and I replace it out front, I know at the end of the day, I need to take a new spool of Tippet and put it back in my pack. So, you know, you just want to try to lighten the load, because when you have less on the stream, when you're lighter, you just feel better. Your back's not aching, your shoulders aren't aching, you're not constantly adjusting. And, you know, look at your fly boxes too. I mean, if you've got flies that are taking up a row and you didn't use them last year, chances are you're not going to use them this year. So get them out of the box. So, you know, just come up with a system that works best for you. I will do a video on my organization, but just everything from where things are on my pack. I know exactly where I need to go to get something. Even my cigars are right in front of me, and my lighter in my pouch. I just go right to it. I know where it's at every single time. My net, I think it's important. My net is right here. You can see there's a magnet. I have it on a retractor. It's in the same spot every single time. I reel left-handed, and when I'm ready to grab the net, I let go of the reel, I take my net, and I'm ready to go. And I still am fighting the fish. I don't have my net on my right-hand side, because if I'm fighting a fish, I've got to switch hands, go to my net, and then the big mistake I see people doing, because they don't have an efficient net system, if they're reeling with their left hand but their net's on the right, what they'll do is they'll switch hands, and all of a sudden the fish will take a surge, and now they got to switch over and reel, switch back, and that's how you lose fish. Another thing I see people do is, as soon as they hook that fish, they start grabbing the net, and then all of a sudden you've got the net in your hand, you don't have enough line in, and you're trying to reach out and net that fish, and you just can't get it in because you need another foot of line in. So, but what I'll see people do is they'll do this deal. They'll put the net here, and they'll crank a little more, or they'll stick it between their legs. And when you start fooling around with the net, that's when you're gonna lose a fish. And I'm telling you, it's gonna be really frustrating when you have a large fish and you lose it because you're farting around with the net. So my net system, if I have a fish and it's in front of me and I go to net it, and it takes that surge and I need to bring a little bit of line in, I just simply drop the net, crank a little bit more, I reach down, I know exactly where the net is, and I pull it out. So you just have to come up with a system that works for you. Make sure it's efficient, and the beauty about it is you can do all of this at home. Just look at your pack, try to lighten the load, look at your net, just try to figure out the best system for you, because if you do that, it will put more fish in the net. And the reason it will, once again, it goes back to comfort and less frustration. And when you're fishing more free, you just tend to pay attention more. There we go. That was a cool fish. My cast landed on top of that rock. I just dropped it off the rock and this gorgeous little brownie whacked it. Boy, he is pretty. Man, look at that guy. Look at the orange on that. Thank you there, Mr. Brown. Tons of those guys today. You see that rock, my bug landed on top of that flat rock. I just pulled it off, dropped down, and sighter just stopped. Nice little deep spot there. So I'm going to be calling it quits here on the Gunpowder. I had a really great day. I don't know how many fish I have on film, but I caught a slew. Most of my fish came on a hare's ear blowtorch size 16. And then I got a couple more on a waltz worm, but most of them are on that hare's ear blowtorch. I caught one maybe on a France midge, but after a while I cut the dropper off and just had them all on the bottom fly. You know, I hope you enjoyed this video. You know, there are a ton of things that you can do away from the stream that make you better fishermen. So I hope you think about it while you're at home, especially this time of year. It's the off season. So by the time spring rolls around, you'll be ready to go and you can put more fish in the net. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, I'd appreciate if you give me a thumbs up. If you have any questions or comments, I'm more than happy to help you out. And as always, tight lines, everybody. I'll talk to you later.